presentation. We don't have Eden because she had an internship thing, so it's just going to be us three. And so first we're going to go through our agenda. I'm going to be talking about the changes and the issues happening in the industry and the issues that BD faces. And then we're going to offer three solutions, and then we're going to finalize it by the conclusion and recommendation. Let's get started. So I will be talking about the changes and the issues that are significant that BD faces that led us to our recommendation that we will touch base on later. And BD is one of the world leaders in medical technology. So they saw changes happening in the industry and wanted to position themselves to success, position their company to success. As healthcare access and healthcare insurance began to rise, so did the cost, and that made hospitals one of BD's main customers. Also start increasing costs or trying to cut costs in certain areas. And one of BD's main items, or what they are known for, are their commodities or their products. And their business model is basically to create like a version 2 essentially of their products, just bettering them as they go. And this is something that hospitals wanted to stray away from, and they wanted to find solutions instead of just like the version 2 of an existing product that they already have. So BD saw this as a threat and we're looking for ways to kind of combat this issue early on. As BD's name is one of their greatest assets, by fortifying their brand with other partnerships and other medical institutions, they can really benefit the company for their future. BD's first step to change was acquiring CareFusion, and it was their biggest acquisition yet. This increased their scale of medical products and introduced also new technological capabilities. This acquisition doubled BD's addressable market, but they didn't feel, for Lensa and Ludwig didn't feel like it was enough. So then they brought in, their intent to do more was them introducing the growth and innovation profile, which was a process that would introduce or discover their strengths and also expose their weaknesses and expose barriers that in leadership or other areas that would prevent them from being successful. So when they did this growth and innovation profile, it revealed a lot of issues. So the first one is that they were not being innovative enough, which is obvious. Most of you groups talked about it, and they were too focused on short-term financials and were unwilling to take risks and make big moves that would help them kind of flourish and branch into something else instead of doing the same thing over and over again. They relied on existing technology, and instead of investing budget on new innovation and new talent and pretty much out-branching from what they're really familiar with. This was a part of their culture. They were known to not really, they were known for their risk-averse decision-making, which really held them back from a lot of benefits that they could have done. With the changes in perception of commoditization, this really made clear the shift in market, and they were unable to reach that market. As soon as all the changes in the industry started happening, they really felt like they were behind and needed to adapt and conform with the rest of the flourishing medical companies. The skill gap also prevents new talent, and this also kind of leads me into my next point with partnerships and the lack of partnerships and collaboration. BD had a silo mentality, meaning that they didn't share information department-wide. They were very kind of secluded. These departments didn't really communicate with each other, which didn't allow them to gather ideas and collaborate. So that brings me to the acquisition with CareFusion. It just simply wasn't big enough. They weren't taking a big risk. It was their biggest one yet, but that just shows how kind of kind of uncomfortable with taking those big moves. And then the last issue would be no focus on foreign and international markets. They have a lack of awareness in consumer needs in foreign, and that has to do with them not wanting to take risks and their culture as not communicating. And more, even with CareFusion's acquisition, more than 75% of CareFusion's sales were 75% were in U.S. and 50% of BD's was also in U.S. So they weren't really getting the market from foreign or international countries. So with the growth and innovation profile led them to the Delta transformation, and Forlenza assigned Cozy to the Delta transformation. Delta is a symbol for change, but most of the employees, the existing employees at BD, did not want change. They kind of thought, why fix something that's not broken, especially because this is a threat that BD was feeling, not something that they were experiencing right away. So they kind of named it, they named it Don't Employ Long-Term Associates. So this disrupted their culture, which made employees feel really uncomfortable, and especially because they were consensus driven, so they felt like they were being pushed to change when they really didn't want that. So Cozy employed 3 initiatives. The first one being efficiency in freeing funds from existing products and innovating in existing products, and instead branching out to new innovations, new technology. And the second one would be, second initiative was innovation, and this kind of goes into like being more customer friendly, and this is knowing the market and knowing what the customers want and meeting their needs in order to make a competitive advantage with the other companies competing in this industry. And then the third initiative is talent and culture change. There was just a disconnect between the U.S. and foreign counterparts, and this is going to be a huge issue because, like I said or mentioned earlier, CareFusion dominates 75%, or most of their sales are in the U.S. and for BD 50%. So really making that communication and closing that gap and disconnect is really going to help them gather an international customer base. And then I'll just pass it on to Matthew for the solutions.
Okay, so our first proposed solution is to acquire more research and development medical companies. And our focus is more on expansion than the innovation itself. We are more interested in using capital to expand and get companies that already innovated, so we can use their innovation to benefit BD itself. So in order to do this, there needs to be some type of measurement to identify potential acquisitions. And then our plan is to create a strategic team that oversees the acquisition of these potential companies. And then this team will use the organizational health index, which measures elements and drives performance through employee surveys and group focuses and focus groups. And with these measurements, we are going to look for 2 standards for the potential medical companies. It would be innovation and customer-centric operations, and this is to align with the potential growth that we want for BD. Changes, the industry is beginning to change and value more value-based solutions such as medication management solutions and integrated delivery networks. So we want to particularly focus on medical companies that are innovating towards these new wanted outcomes in order to increase and maintain our position in this evolving market. Okay, and then for our second proposed solution, we want to focus more on international environments. And this is because 50% of the sales are outside the United States. And shown in this graph is a geographical reference of where the revenues come from in BD. And although the United States is in blue and it's on the top and has the most revenue, the rate in which the other countries increase are at a higher rate than the United States. So our plan is to focus initially on the Asia Pacific market, and it's because the increase from per year on average is increase of revenue of 109.2 million per year, compared to the US, which revenue only increased 32.5 million. And this is 3 times as much as the United States, so this is a potential emerging market that we would want to focus on. And in order to do this, we will create a marketing and research team that focuses on promoting our existing products and focus on medical devices that are needed in the area, because when there are different medical needs in different geographical locations because of like cultures or the what's happening in the society itself. So because of this, we will require the team to have a leader who will be an expert on cultural behavior. And this is to ensure that the products are aligned with the industry that is at the location that the team is marketing towards. So this goal itself is to maximize the revenue growth in the emerging markets and promote our existing product itself. Okay, and our third solution is to partner with medical institutions. There are changes in the market when it concerns to institutions such as hospitals, and then they were looking for value-based medications and medication management, and this is to overall provide a solution to the process of treating their patients. So in order to align with the business operations, we want to align with their goals as well. So in order to start with partnering medical institutions, we would focus initially on the Texas Medical Center, which is the largest medical center in the world, one of the highest densities of clinical facilities for patient care, basic science, and translational research. So first, we would provide our medical products and devices for them to implement within their business operations, and then as they become more incorporated into their everyday use, we would focus on implementing systems management, such as like software or management solutions, which what they want and which will help improve their business operations and our partnership together with them. So the overall idea was to combine our pre-existing applications from other acquisitions and our products to match the needs of the market themselves because of the evolving market. And then once this large medical institution is accustomed, other medical institutions will become interested in becoming partnerships, and then we can expand on that as we go on. So, Harshal, go with our conclusion.
Hello everyone. It's been a long time. In concluding to what Matthew and Linda said, there were several issues that we considered while making a decision. We have obviously made a decision. I'm just going to run through some of the issues which were the main issues in our decision. And first are the industry changes, mainly external change, like which are the threat to the organization. Mainly rising costs led to hospitals forming partnerships to seek efficiencies and gain power. Hospitals move towards medication management, right from prescribing a drug to a patient by a doctor to updating electronic medical records. So basically they moved from purchasing commodities to investing and partnershiping with companies which run through in processes, right? So that was the major change which affected the company. And second were the internal changes. Internal changes like short-term financial focus. They had a really short-term financial change in their revenues, really led them to making major decisions which should not be the case. They should look at the longer picture. They should rather focus on the process rather than looking at short-term financial result. Talent management. Second is talent management. they had really problem in managing the talent within their organization. Like there was an example as earlier described, the manager of the leading product being gifted a watch for his success. That should not be the case. And other is US centricity and organization structure and control. They are really single focus on just US market, and they really didn't realize the potential they had in the international markets. And also their organization was mainly led by in a higher level managed by the US people. I think they should look more in the building a diverse culture. And second was the problem in customer focus and strategic marketing. There were two company focus. As we have learned in marketing, the approach should be more consumer focused rather than company focused. They really focus on problems that the company was facing rather than the problems which their customer facing. Other problem was in the partnership and collaboration. They were, as described in the case, they were really lousy partners. So they had to improve in that, be more proactive. And the other is culture. The core competence of the company was their culture. And culture is a thing which can't be changed overnight. They should understand that culture, building a culture requires certain time, and overnight changing it can result in hazardous impacts. Otherwise, then they recommended data transformation. Data transformation had many problems, many problems within the company. Like in improving the efficiency, they allotted a major of the funds to the top management, which really led in cost cutting in down level management. And talent and culture, as I discussed, the culture needs to change overnight. And we recommend to focus more on international environment. Our main recommendation is to focus more on international business. That's more than 50% of the income comes from their international market, and more autonomy needs to be given to their CEOs and the people who are managing their international markets. And mainly we focus on Asia Pacific region and then move forward to the African region. So more of that. And we recently acquired CareFusion. I think they can really leverage the inclusion of CareFusion in the international market. And also we recommended to focus on them on more marketing existing products rather than building new products. And the last thing is to focus on products which will suit more locally. They really focus on that.
I had a question about co-solution. Sounds pretty good. I was wondering if you guys anticipated any of the cultural characteristics of the company would impede the implementation of that solution. Do you think there might be any issue with that, or do you think that there's anything about that solution that might end up solving some of the core culture issues that you guys talked about?
Which solution is that?
The recommended solution on
So just to clarify on that, was so we wanted to work on international markets, and it wasn't so much innovation. We were going to put a lot of money into innovation. We wanted to keep on building the same existing products because, like I said earlier, there was nothing really wrong with what they were doing. They were just trying to go ahead of the changes or the threats that they saw coming. So we would mostly put our funds into acquisitions, and so instead of innovating ourselves and putting so much money in R&D, we would acquire companies that would already have those technologies. And as for the barriers, I guess, in culture, I think you're going to face some barriers in culture whenever you're trying to combine any two companies. So I mean, we would think about hiring a regional expert that can really balance the two and make BD really aware of the cultures before making those big decisions and deciding to, make the two companies connect.
Okay, we're done.